Hey folks, this is BestInSlot and welcome back to our Jurassic World Evolution 2 modding series. In tonight's special episode, we're going to take a look at the top 10 new species you can add to your game right now, all guaranteed to work with the latest update of the game, the Extinct Marine Species Pack. I tried to pick a really good mix of species here because it's very easy to just pick large terrestrial theropods, but I tried to give a good mix from aquatics to pterosaurs to a big variety of terrestrial animals. So if you're new to modding your game or you're just looking to expand your roster, you can download these 10, get a lot of variety and peace of mind knowing they'll actually work. I went into this blind, picking the 10 I thought looked the best and could blend into and fit into the Evolution 2 roster, give us something new, without looking at the authors. As it happens, that means two authors in particular absolutely dominate this list, but it wasn't on purpose, it just, as is life, you know, they're doing some really great work lately. It's worth noting you'll also need ACSE, KaiCore General, KaiCore Menu, and Expanded Colors Core to get all of these working properly, but all four of those are easily downloaded and installed into your Oval Data folder in your Jurassic World Evolution 2 folder. And I'll link those four, plus of course the 10 species down below in the description. Finally, whilst you are probably safe for a good long while yet, mods can cause problems with your game, especially when the game updates. New species, for what it's worth, don't tend to cause issues anymore, but it is worth noting. Just make sure you're backing up your game files, and if there is a problem, it's not my fault, it's not the mod maker's fault, and it's indeed not Frontier's fault. Right, 10 to do, so let's get started, let's make this snappy with number 1. And number 1 on our list is a Daphosaurus by Viral Cyclops. This is a synapsid from North America and Europe from the late Carboniferous to the early Permian. One of the first large plant-eating vertebrates out there. This was very, very early on where vertebrates were growing and gaining in size and eating plants and stuff like that. The Daphosaurus is maybe my favourite new species mod in the entire game. Not only does it fill a niche in that, you know, we've got Dimetrodon in that it looks vaguely similar, but Daphosaurus has got this humongous sail, that really dramatic shaping at the back, this kind of elongated, drooping teardrop kind of look. It's the only other creature we have that looks even vaguely like that. It's got a much more dramatic sort of profile. It's herbivorous, which is of course different than our Dimetrodon as well. And beyond all that, I just think it blends into the game beautifully. I think if Frontier released this Daphosaurus, I would be absolutely thrilled, and that's really what I'm looking for with this mod collection. If Frontier officially released it as an Evolution 2 creature, would you stop? Would you think, well, would you think that's a bit iffy? And I think with the Daphosaurus, you would absolutely be thrilled with that. The variety in coloration and textures on the sail in particular is a highlight. You can see here we've got this, you know, this kind of moth eye kind of symbol, but over here we've got this sort of banded striping along the back. We've got some long elongated striping on this one. We've just got this huge amount of variety. Unfortunately, I've birthed 3 of the bloody striped ones. We've got another one here with the eye at the front and some different sort of dark blue, slightly emo coloration. Just fantastic variety. Looks really good. Rigged really well, modelled really well, coloured really well. Highly recommend if you're looking for a new species in your packs, except when they're inside each other, which is slightly awkward. Next on our list is Shantungosaurus by HyperSG. This is a huge hadrosaur from late Cretaceous China, actually the largest hadrosaur to ever roam the earth, at up to 54 feet in length. This thing is humongous. Mosasaurus, for example, grew up to about 50 feet in length, so this hadrosaur was longer than Mosasaurus. This thing is absolutely gigantic. And again, I think it blends in wonderfully into the game. I love seeing herbivores that are a little bit tougher. You know, this is a herbivore that could absolutely fight back against some of those larger terrestrial carnivores. Blends in really well into the game, really nicely rigged, really subtle, realistic patterning. You know, this is absolutely a dinosaur you could see existing in this kind of form. And as you can see, the animations all work perfectly, the social animations work perfectly. It's just really cool to see a new hadrosaur like this. We don't get many hadrosaur mods at all. There's really only 2 or 3 out there. The others are fantastic as well. It's worth mentioning that there are tons of great mods I could have included in this video. It was very, very difficult to get it down to 10. My list was about 40 at some point. But I just think the Shantungosaurus fills a niche. It's something a little bit different. It's beautifully coloured, beautifully rigged, everything really, just kind of perfection. time for our first carnivore. This is the mid-sized theropod Carcara. The name meaning, and this is one of the reasons it gets in, the dawn shark. It's just such a cool name. This is a carcharodontid from early Cretaceous Niger. Its brow, as you can see, this huge band of sort of bony browness it's got, that's the official scientific term, that gives it this kind of permanent, menacing kind of glare. Oh, I should mention this is by Master Do, I do apologise. And again, I just think this is another one of those dinosaurs it's really interesting given it's sort of mid-size as well. We don't have any mid-sized dinosaurs that are carcharodontids as far as I remember. We've got this lovely sail with this really evocative colouring, striping going down the back. You know, the default textures and colours are quite, you know, standard looking dinosaur, definitely fits in with Evolution 2. And then this lovely burst of colour that really gives it something a little bit different. Looks fantastic, beautifully coloured, beautifully textured, beautifully rigged as per usual. Terrifying eyes. Got that really menacing brow ridge you can really see sticking up there as well. And now for something quite different. This is Gigantoraptor by Master Doot, an oviraptorid from late Cretaceous Asia. The largest of its kind, that's a common theme today, at 26 feet in length, really dominates size-wise a lot of the other oviraptorids. I mean, the other oviraptorid we have in Evolution 2 is Oviraptor, which comes in size about down here somewhere. So Gigantoraptor really does fill a niche. It is our only large oviraptorid. Fantastic featherwork by Master Do, really top notch, from the sort of the long tail fan drooping down we've got there at the back to this beautiful splay there at the back of the crest, at the back of the beak. Coloration has that kind of dappled splotchy pattern that Frontier loves so much. Look at that crest feathering. I think it's really beautiful. Comes in a fantastic array of patterns, kind of terrifying as well. I love seeing these large, non-carnivorous theropods rendered in this slightly scarier sort of way. Gigantoraptor omnivorous in reality. Yeah, it just fills a niche, something we don't have in the game so far, rendered beautifully. Love seeing modders take a stab at the feathering. I love how it sort of blends in down there into the feet, which of course scaled instead. And yeah, a really, really good fit for the Therizinosaurus rig, which as you can see is what it's working on. More work here by Hyper SG. This is Megalania. Megalania is a giant monitor lizard from Pleistocene Australia, the largest terrestrial lizard to have ever lived at about 23 feet long, only going extinct 50,000 years ago. Not that long ago. You know, there's potential that early settlers in Australia, the first humans who ever lived in Australia, encountered Megalania, maybe hunted and killed Megalania, and indeed were hunted and killed by Megalania. It comes in a variety of different skins, but I've used the sort of the special skins at the moment. So you can see one modelled straight there on a Komodo dragon. We've got this lovely spotted ringed sort of pattern, and then we've got this very dramatically coloured ringed one over here as well. And of course, there's a huge host of other colours available out there. Again, this is something different. We don't have anything like this in the game, of course, at all. You can even build a zoo, just use the Komodo dragon one, but a giant monitor lizard is an inherently very, very cool idea, to say the least. And again, rigged beautifully. Fantastic colours and textures and patterns. Fills a niche that we don't have. It's everything we're looking for and more. Bloody shadows. Right, next up, something a little bit less niche, a little bit less different, I would suggest. This is Tarbosaurus by Wheat. A tyrannosaurid from late Cretaceous Asia, very closely related, of course, to Tyrannosaurus, to the point where we're still debating whether it's synonymous at all, whether Tarbosaurus actually exists, or whether it is indeed another Tyrannosaurus in the first place. But for now, it's Tarbosaurus bataar. And one of the reasons like this, okay, we don't actually have many large Tyrannosaurids in the game, really, if you think about it. And whilst it doesn't look too different from the T-Rex in some ways, you can use this to make sort of family units with the Rex. You could have some gender dimorphism in there. It's a good way to just mix up the Tyrannosaurids you're using. And I'm a bit of a sucker for this one because, of course, the skin is based on prehistoric planet. We've got this kind of red base colour there and then this kind of splotchy texture. And that works across a variety of different colours. It is determined to only hang out in the shadow, isn't it? Like every single one of them in the worst lighting possible. But it's really well patterned, really well textured. I'm a sucker for anything that's prehistoric planet related. really showcases the size of the Giganotosaurus nearby, though. But yeah, I think it's one of the better realistically rendered and modeled dinosaurs in the entire modding community, which is saying a lot given the quality that people keep putting out. Right, we are moving across and taking a look at the only pterosaur in our selection. This is Zenuanopterus by HyperSG. Let's take a look at that in some beautiful lighting. There we go. We'll keep this paused because the pterosaurs are impossible to keep track of. This is by HyperSG, a pterosaur from early Cretaceous China. It's a member of Boreopteridae, which are pterosaurs that typically had long snouts, as you can see here, and they were filled, as you can also see, with sort of needle-sharp razor teeth like this. Loads of jutting out needle skinny teeth, and the idea with this and the sort of the random orientation is that when they swoop down to grab fish, the chances of snaring some goes up dramatically. You know, the chances of a fish getting past this razor wire is very, very unlikely. This has been my favorite pterosaur mod since it got first introduced. It's, you know, it just works really well. It's something unique. It's something different than what we have in the game currently. The patterning and coloration is really evocative. Look at that down the wings. Really beautiful stuff. That gradient there between the pale colors to those blues, all beset by this striping that gets thinner towards the middle. It is fantastic patterning work. It really is. Really interesting head shape and crest. Really stands out with both its head shape, its skull shape, that long snout, those huge amounts of teeth and that little crest on there, and then just the fantastic coloration and patterning. And now for something entirely different. This is Amphicylius by Master Dude, a late Jurassic sauropod from Colorado. Huge, as we can see, but actually, as it happens, moderately sized for a sauropod at about, 59 feet in length. This one is special for a few different reasons. First of all, again, sauropods are one of those things that I don't think a lot of modders really tackle. They tend to be a little bit neglected. This one, though, is fantastic looking. It's got some really nice details that I like. This kind of gradiented color from the head down to the tail. It's all realistically patterned. There's nothing too extreme going on here. We've got some striping, got lots of spots going on, which is nice. We've got this lovely little crest, sort of sail area just behind the skull there. And really nice the way that the underbelly, the counter shading kind of breaks up there into the face, into the skull as well. Those who've seen my video on this mod will know there's something a little bit special about Amphicylius though. So, in order to force activation of that and show you that right now, we're going to open the correct tool. We're going to open the Dinosaur Control Toolbox. This is part of a modding suite by Kyodenic. We're going to go to the controls and we're going to go to preen. Is it preen? So yeah, a little bit of an error there, but I mean, I did force this to happen. And there you go. That's one of the reasons that makes this mod so incredible. This is the first mod we've covered, or indeed will have possibly covered, because none of the others do it, that has a fully custom animation. The preening animation does not usually look like this, but Amphicylius, this hugely long creature, similar to Diplodocus in that it's more horizontal length than the vertical length, will rear up onto its back and call into the skies. Our only aquatic creature today is Surfactus by HyperSG, a huge predatory fish from the late Maastrichtian, found all over the world. This fish is renowned for a ferocious appetite. There's been over a dozen specimens of Surfactus found, with remnants of other fish already inside its stomach. Now, if I'm honest, I got a big soft spot for Surfactus, so it always stood a really good chance of getting in, but again, I think it's something really different. Dunkleosteus came in and kind of fills a similar niche to an extent with this kind of armored, bony, fish-looking kind of stature, but Surfactus has always been a favorite for me. I love this kind of open jaw, those huge, sharp, needle-like teeth jutting out at the front. Really subtle patterning. You don't want to go too far with fish in a lot of ways. You get the feeling of the scales and the boniness, or kind of like the ridging around the head there. Blends in really well, rigged really well, fits into the game nicely, and really does look unlike anything else we've got in the game. There's something so menacing and hungry looking about it. It really does. It's a proper horror looking creature, and I very much adore that. Particularly these front teeth here, like jutting out at the top of the lip. Very, very cool. And our final mod for today is yet another from Master Dude. So for those who haven't been keeping check, that means Master Dude and HyperSG both had 4 mods each in this selection. As I say, not planned. This is Bahariasaurus, a large theropod from late Cretaceous North Africa, I do apologise. A giant theropod from the Baharia Formation. And one of the things I love most about this as a concept as a dinosaur is that this thing lived with other huge theropods. It lived with Giganotosaurus, it lived with Spinosaurus, it maybe lived with Massasaurus. Whether Massasaurus exists or not is a whole other kettle of fish. It could be a Spinosaurus for all we know, but this thing had to compete to be an apex predator surrounded by some of the largest carnivores that have ever walked the earth, and I just think that's a very, very cool idea. Never mind that the mod itself really does look fantastic. Master Dude bringing that A-game. It's one of my favourite dinosaurs they've ever made. I love this coloration. We don't tend to see this much colour on a large theropod, so that's really nice to see. I also think it's quite niche in that it's a large theropod with this very serpentine, sleek kind of appearance. The large theropods, as we can see from, say, the Tarbosaurus over there, even that's sleeker than the Rex. They're quite bulky though, you know, it's got a Tyrannosaurid head, it's got a Tyrannosaurid body, they're quite bulky. This one's much sleeker, much thinner. You can really see it's like a nimble, quick predator despite its size, unlike the others which feel more like battering rams. I just think it's really unique looking. I think the coloration and patterning is absolutely beautiful. Like all the Master Dude's work, I think it's rigged really well, blends into the game really nicely. I think that's just a very, very cool looking dinosaur with beautiful coloration, beautiful patterns. Really unique, really stands out. What more could you want, really, you know? What more could you possibly want? And that is it for today's list, ladies and gentlemen. Daphosaurus, Shantungosaurus, Carcara, Gigantoraptor, Megalania, Tarbosaurus, Enneuanopterus, Amphicilius, Surfactus, and Bahariasaurus. An eclectic mix, but as you can see, just looking around here, you've got good size differentiation. We've got small, we've got big. I wouldn't mind another mid-sized sauropod in there. That's going to do that for eternity. But a really nice mix of carnivores and herbivores. We've got an aquatic, we've got a pterosaur. There is a ton of other things I could have put into this pack. Tons of other things. So many quality mods out there that it was very, very hard to pick. But this would be my personal top 10 recommendations. There's some obvious misses. LA Studios, for example, don't have any of their dinosaurs updated to the new version of the game. Absolutely some LA Studios stuff would have made in. A lot of Sweetener stuff nearly made it in. Trip stuff. The tiny and large pack, which I covered before, is fantastic and probably should have made it in. Definitely go check out the Nexus, definitely go check out Popular in 30 days, Popular in a few months, stuff like that, or just browse through yourself. You can go back through a few pages and see all the different dinosaurs that could possibly be added to your parks. But really happy with this list. Definitely recommend you check all of these mods out. I'll link them all, as I've said, in the description down below. Let me know which was your favourite of the bunch, which of these would you be most likely to download, and throw me a like if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you lovely folks very soon. We're probably not doing a mods of the week this week because really nothing has come out. There's been very, very few mods this week. It seems to be quite a quiet week, but you never know what will happen. And we'll have a park tour on Friday as per usual and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks very soon. Cheers much as always. Bye-bye.